courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com. Here comes the analyst, Pete Bercich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network.
That's what this team is all about, defense and breaking hard.
Your Minnesota Vikings are about defense and breaking hearts, Pete. At least they were yesterday from Jacksonville, Florida, and they left illuminated from the Sunshine State. Now off to Tennessee. After that, at Soldier Field, and that's the 3-game road trip. But the defense yesterday, what are some facets you were enjoying? And good morning.
Good morning. Defensively, what I did, it reminded me, obviously, a lot like the Las Vegas game a year ago. Meaning they never took the field with a 2-score lead ever. We were either behind or it was three. You had a 2-point lead then, a 5-point lead then for a while, but they kept the same intensity the whole time. And Flores stayed true to who he is. We didn't at any point just say, all right, we're going to go with a 4-man rush and give him the underneath stuff, play an umbrella, let him kind of move the ball down the field and then tighten things up in the red zone or whatever. We didn't do any of that. They stayed aggressive and stuck to it. I love the way they wore out Mac Jones, meaning early on, Mac Jones making things happen with his feet, scrambling, extending plays, move the chains on that, one play that we thought maybe was a fumble. He's diving, sticking his arm out, and, two sacks later. No. That part of his game was gone. So the physicality part of it was, was good to see Cashman out there running around doing his thing. Our linebackers, both Pace and Cashman, just destroyed their running backs in protection. And that was a huge problem because Bigsby got blown up early in a Cashman sack. Ivan Pace did the same to him. And then later on, like when Andrew Van Ginkel was unblocked, that was Evan Ingram and Tank Bigsby both going after the same inside defender, and they just turned Van Ginkel loose, right? So we goaded them into some protection mistakes and some big ones. So that's the part of the defense that you love to see. You just love to see that. The DBs, I think, played well. Byron Murphy played well. To see Cam Bynum do what he did and making that adjustment and just playing well as a group. Metellus, under the radar, had a really, really good game. He took away some things that Jacksonville was trying to get, if you will, and a couple big third down plays by him too. So again, that's just our defense, right? And that's not
right.
One guy,
right?
That takes over everything. It's like I was driving in this morning, and I'm like, man, we didn't hear much from Dallas Turner or Pat Jones. I know Jihad Ward had a real nice, nice tackle on a third down that they decided to run. But then again, you're like, they weren't out there for much. So those guys really didn't get in. It was okay to go into this game with a 4-man D-line rotation, if you will, because they just didn't play a whole lot.
Well, with Cashman, ultimate team game, understandable. Even, Lester Hayes, Deion Sanders, Derek Thomas, so on. Not having those guys doesn't help, but you can still find a way to win with the replacement in the other 10. But I thought it was interesting with Cashman back yesterday. Ivan Pace Jr. seemed to play more freely. I'm going to roll with what you're saying on Metellus because you're an elite football mind. But in the three...
you can take that one to the bank. Go ahead.
In the 3 previous sans Cashman, I didn't hear anybody say that about Metellus. And now all of a sudden, you're getting Van Ginkel untouched off the edge. So, things that were dominating through the first part of the season with 51... began to dominate again yesterday. He's the heart and soul of this defense, man.
Well, here's the other thing too: is when he was gone, how did they account for him not being in the lineup? Well, if you remember against Detroit, we had Dallas Turner playing a little bit of linebacker, and that didn't quite work out. And then Van Ginkel would move over, would drop off and play. Sometimes J. Hill would come in, and then sometimes Metellus would play. So, with Cashman being out, you had Metellus, J. Hill, Van Ginkel, Turner. You had 4 guys trying to play a different position, right? They have the skill set, but it's just a different position. So when Cashman comes back. Metellus goes back to what he was doing.
Right.
Van Ginkel's going back to what he was doing, right? And so, yeah, it's just the fact that those guys can go back and play their positions the way that they learned them in training camp in the first 4 or 5 games of the year, allowed them all to play more freely and better. And, the whole group played well. And speaking defensively, I know Jonathan Grenard, I don't know if he had a TFL. I don't know if he had a sack, but that guy played at the end of that game when we needed him and we needed to stop the run. He was fantastic. I'm one of the biggest Jonathan Grenard fans out there because the guy just week after week, the consistency with which he plays is that's why you get paid a lot of money, and he's absolutely been worth it.
Well, and speaking of defense, conversely, when Aaron Jones went down in that Jets game, when we were at Tottenham Hotspur, the Jets eventually went to a 4-man rush, maybe a 3-man rush, dropping 7 or 8, and the quarterback had problems. The Colts, 4-man rush, minimal blitzing, dropping 7, and the Vikings get the money, but stylistically speaking, it wasn't super sound. Yesterday, Jacksonville rushes 4 or 3. They even rushed 2 on 2 plays. But I mean, they're dropping 7, they're dropping 8, they're dropping 9 2 times, and the offense is not passing through it. So like moving forward in a copycat league, that's what you're going to get the rest of the way. How do you beat it?
You know what? Hopefully that is the case. The less rushers on the quarterback, the better. I mean, I think you beat it with your tight ends. You have to become much more aware of exactly where the sticks are because getting downfield is going to be tough. Now, there are routes and things that you can do deep down the field. We saw him run against us many, many times last year with just the go routes by the slots and then a deep dagger route or deep in route 20 some yards down the field. I mean, you can do those things because you have time for them to develop. But if they decide to rush 4, then you may not have that much time, right? So it's kind of a gamble, right? And it's a gamble that way. I just think it's going to have to be better with our underneath routes and then just knowing where the sticks are. It's very tough to get vertical. We're a vertical passing game. We want to get down the field. And it's very, very difficult to do when a team's dropping, 8 into coverage. It's just really difficult to do.
Hey, Pete,
That's why defenses do it.
After a couple of games, Pete, the Lions game and then the Rams game, we're all sweating this defense, right? And Cashman at the time still has turf toe. He's out of the mix. But what Ben Johnson did to this defense at U.S. Bank Stadium, what McVay was able to do with a healthy Puka and Cooper back in the mix on Thursday night, had us reeling a little bit. Now we bounce back against Flacco and then Mac Jones. How do you balance your vibe with this defense and how that engine's turning, given in some ways a drop in class from those 2 losses to now what we've seen the last 2?
Yeah, I think you think about the Detroit game, right? And think about what happened when you had the big Jahmyr Gibbs run. I think, that was a mental error. And, you blitz and then you turn Amon-Ra St. Brown free. That was also after a motion formation. It was a miscommunication in coverage. I know the one flat route, we had 1 defender and 2 receivers in one area. That was another. So there were 4 big mistakes in that game that on each one cost us a touchdown. Right. So it wasn't as if the game was a disaster. It wasn't as if we didn't have an answer for any of it. It was merely, that Lions team is so talented. If you mess up one time, miss 1 tackle, forget to cover 1 guy, 1 time, they're good enough that they're going to find it. And the guy catching the ball or running the ball is explosive enough to make something happen. That's a big difference with them. Against the Rams, we just looked absolutely tired, flat-footed. I don't recall a ton of scheme issues again in that game, or they had gotcha plays, let's say, against us. So for them to bounce back against the Colts the way they did and play with that energy made a difference. So, again, nothing's as good as it seems, nothing's as bad as it seems, and somewhere in between reality lies. And, I think, again, like with the offense, just have some patience. They'll figure it out, I hope. Defensively, what I do love about the defense, though, is that when pressed and when they have to get it done, they more often than not find a way. And it's been fun to watch. But like I said, with these guys, when the guys are all back in the spots that they normally play, they're a better group.
Pete Bercich,
The Analyst.
weekly 9 to noon, right around 10 o'clock, courtesy of Sukup Manufacturing and Sukup.com, SUKUP.com. Lastly, you hammered on it after each interception. And then after all three interceptions, you kind of put the bow on it, and then we just move on. But the Justin Jefferson was in the vicinity of the intended target when all of those interceptions took place. So when you watch them back, or if you have watched them back, the first one, I swear, I think is the only time during the game he got single coverage. And I also think the guy fouled him. I didn't think it live, but I mean, he ran right into him. You just can't do that. But outside of that, do you sense Sam is forcing it to Justin for whatever the reason?
I don't know about forcing it. I think he's, it's just the decision to throw it in his direction, and them not quite being on the same page. Along these lines, PA, I think the concern that I have is the one interception. Well, it really wasn't an interception, but I digress on that whole thing. Was thrown so far behind JJ, he didn't have a chance. We saw also in the game that Josh Oliver bailed him out on a couple catches down at the kneecaps.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson had one. These are just outlet passes, and our receivers were forced to make pretty Herculean efforts to catch the football. So that inaccuracy is what I am concerned about when it comes to our quarterback. Number one. Number two, he's made some bad decisions. The interception against Detroit, just a bad decision. One of the interceptions against the Colts, no idea. The guy, it wasn't like the guy came from the silent. It was just the one he threw in the red zone there. The guy was standing there the entire time, the linebacker, and he just threw it right to him. So, not didn't see those kinds of interceptions out of him yesterday. But again, the inaccuracy thing, it seems, that's a concern. But he wants to be a starter in the NFL, and any starter in the NFL has had to fight through the yips at some point, right? A couple weeks where things just aren't right. Well, he's got to figure out a way to get back on track. The coach has got to figure out a way to get him back on track. And if he can prove that he can get through this, then I think some other teams this offseason will say, yeah, we want Darnold to be the starter. So this is on him again. This is, he's got to turn things around very, very quickly. And, I trust this coaching staff to get it done. I mean, one thing we know about O'Connell is he's throwing that ball down the field, period. It's like that's our system. That's who we are, right? It's just like on defense, we're blitzing,
right?
If we can take advantage of them, like we were owning them in the pass protection side with our linebackers and their running backs. We just owned them. So we kept pressing that until it broke. And then offensively, we love to throw the football. I think what you said earlier also, Paul, if I might interject, is I think since the Jets game, teams have been looking at this and saying, yeah, we got to be extremely physical with Justin Jefferson. We got to put two bodies on him. We got to beat him up. We got to, that's what they're trying to do. I think that is what the trend that we're seeing with guys trying to defend Justin Jefferson. So expect more of it.
Appreciate you, Mr. Analyst.
Hardcore football.
That's Pete Bercich, courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com. We'll chat soon, okay?
All right, see you, bye.
Hey, let's talk back. You can send text too if you want, 64686, but preferably go to the free iHeartRadio app, and up to 30 seconds is your time limit, and you can chat about the Vikings-Jaguars game yesterday, and we're going to play some of them back around the corner at FM 100.3 KFAN. Talkback time around the corner, followed by a News du Nord. Parker Fox, our main man on Monday, joins us in studio about 11 o'clock. And here's Nordo with some money to give away.
Yeah, the fan and two men in a junk truck want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. The keyword this hour is cash. Cash in, you might win $1,000 with the keyword cash at KFAN.com.
Hey, PA Nordo. Sam Darnold has done well this year so far overall, but yesterday is just another reminder and one of many reasons why this will be J.J. McCarthy's team next year going forward. All Vikings fans need to start accepting that.
I haven't run into a Vikings fan, even from the time the team was 5-0, that either wanted to cast the gaze the way of like 10 months later, regarding who the quarterback would be. And secondly, when I continue to harp on, and sadly I'm going to have to do it again, that the majority of the pressure here is on Sam Darnold. And it has been ever since he put pen to paper for that 1-10, simply because of where he's been, what he's done, or what he hasn't done, where he came from, the 49ers system, where he was in meeting rooms with quarterbacks and skill position players up to the Super Bowl and through the Super Bowl. That you're going to learn a lot there. And Sam, for the most part, has been fine as quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings this year. But when you give somebody a 1-10, I would imagine, I'm certainly not speaking for the team, but I would guess that the absolute end game, the long play here is go out, kick butt, get yourself $100 million guaranteed like Kirk O'Chains from somebody else, preferably in the NFC. So maybe we strap another team on their salary cap. But the Vikings, at the end of the year, they can make an offer to Sam Darnold. But depending on how well or poorly he plays down the road, Sam wants to start.
Yeah.
They all want to start, man. Mac Jones wants to start. McCorkle wants to start. He's backing up Trevor Lawrence. So, that'll be a balancing act for Darnold and his representation. But this always has had the feel, as 9 to noon kind of low-key shared during training camp, that J.J. McCarthy was never starting game number 1. It was always Sam Darnold. And, in fact, things would have to go completely amiss, which they haven't, Team 7-2, by the way. They would have to go completely amiss during the season for McCarthy at age 21 to get the opportunity. I
think there are a couple of sides to it too, because I don't think there's been this loud, just this clamoring foghorn, but I saw it during Fan Line and encountered it a bunch where if pie in the sky, if the Vikings win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, if he continues on at that one point where he was like, 11 touchdowns and 2 interceptions or something like that, specifically early before, things started to get weird, specifically in London. But you're 4-0, you're feeling good about everything. Ultimately, you're 5-0 into the bye. Mm-hmm. That if he continues on this trajectory where he's playing his best football of his career, what is up with J.J. McCarthy? You mentioned that he probably and most likely would not have started week 1. Okay, so is there an element of value if I didn't love J.J. McCarthy and Sam plays and balls out? Am I, because I'm not in love with J.J. McCarthy as a fan, am I open to the idea, hey, give him another deal. Extend Sam.
Yeah.
And then J.J. can sit another year and do it the way that the Packers did. I did encounter a fair amount of that. Mm-hmm. But like you, I was always kind of the one.
There are many tentacles.
Absolutely there are.
I can create 10 more if we have time. They're all hypotheticals. It's ridiculous. It's if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl as quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, he's not getting $100 million guaranteed here. He's not, because the Kwesi and that group has worked so hard for 2.5 years to get salary cap flexibility and in essence jettison picks in certain parts of the draft
Right.
to get Grenard, to get Van Ginkel, to get Cashman.
Yeah, get younger, get more financially flexible. Absolutely.
To get Aaron Jones. And when you tie yourself to somebody at $100 million or higher, that's not just like 1 year and then it's gone. So, I mean, you're hit year after year after year, and it compromises your ability to build things around it.
I mean, if Sam does 2012 Joe Flacco playoffs, you can't let him go. I mean, I don't know how you would do that.
I think it would
for
be
a team that is starved for a championship, a city, and a fan base.
Understood,
but again, you want to talk about hypothetical of hypotheticals. It was weird enough talking about that after your team goes 4-0 at Lambeau. It's even odder to do it a day after you see 3 picks and you see some inadequacies and some things happening.
Yeah, I would be shocked. I mean, we all want Sam Darnold to play incredibly well.
Yeah.
Right? Amen on that.
100%, yeah.
We all want Sam Darnold to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, right?
That'd be sweet.
We all want a bunch of good players at a bunch of different spots who also require a fair amount of compensation to fortify the village so one person at this stage of the equation is not getting the lion's share, where is the lion's share means that there's not much to share. It's like the rest of the team is the wildebeest, and the one getting all the money is chomping on said wildebeest. That's why they drafted McCarthy. They like him. You're going to get X amount of years of a rookie deal, so you can build around it. And that the hypothetical of Darnold winning the Super Bowl, excellent for Sam, because somebody's going to pay him an awful lot of money.
Yeah, he's going to everyone's getting $250 million today. Another talkback. Thank you to those. Free iHeartRadio app. Hit the microphone. Give us your best 30 seconds.
Hey, what's going on, PA? Nordo. Jordan from Macomb here. Sorry I missed Vikes Bites, but I just wanted to ask. During the broadcast, I heard them say that Aaron Jones is taking more carries each game than he ever has in his career. Are we overworking Jones? And is that why he's getting banged up so bad? Should we keep doing it? Or should we start playing with Cam Akers a little bit more, seeing how Cam Akers seems to be kind of explosive with this offense? Let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.
I did not hear this. Was that whether it was the radio or the TV broadcast? I did not hear this. So when I heard the talkback, I actually went and looked. Yeah. He is averaging almost 2 more touches per game than he has over the course of his career. And, depending upon the game and the season, he jumped anywhere from, let's say, 11 up to maybe 14. He's about 16 touches a game with the Vikings. Yeah. Is that worrisome? You saw him take one to the ribs. That's going to be a sore week for him. But he was able to return to the game. Any worries that let's get Cam involved? What about Cam Akers? There was some Ty Chandler dusting off that took place yesterday too.
16 carries a game. We're asking, are 16 carries a game potentially too much?
Yeah. I always love that one.
I'm not. I mean, that's like asking a majority of the United States of America to accept working 40 hours a week.
I always love that one.
No, it's not. No. I'm not going to play. You can't play the injury game and be like, if we're at 16, but really, if we need to be at 14, if we're at 14, does that mean that he's not going to get nicked up? I mean, the book on Aaron is Aaron gets nicked up. The tough thing with Jones sometimes, tough as nails, and I love him, and he's really good, is Aaron leaves games. So like when he left the Jets game, the whole thing changed.
Correct.
And he leaves this game, and then he comes back. The whole thing didn't change to a certain extent. I mean, Cam wasn't going for 7-7 like he did previously against Indianapolis, but Ty came in and gave them some good moments. So 16 carries a game, that would have been on the TV broadcast. If 16 a game is a career high for him, he's never going to be a bell cow. All right, the metaphorically cliched bell cow. We're not talking about Joe Mixon here. We're not talking about John Riggins or Franco Harris. But these days are different, where 16 may be a high-end number, but Aaron absolutely can handle it.
And we need that out of him. I mean, we're splitting hairs to drop him to 12. I mean, if we're playing, We'll get Aaron his 12 touches a game, and then it's Cam Akers. I mean, that's...
Well, if you get Aaron, 12 touches a game, and your threshold is 14, can you imagine how nervous they're going to be on carries 13 and 14?
Well, and the problem is...
honestly, it's like when the clock gets to 36 hours and somebody's expected to work 40, and they're kind of like, what am I going to do these final 4 hours? You kidding me? I can't handle this.
Well, it's like a kid trying to manage and budget his lawn mowing money at the arcade, right? I mean, by the third quarter, if you already have 11 touches, how are you going to try and implement him with only 3 opportunities the rest of the entire game?
Brilliant.
Let me hit you with another talkback here.
Nordo and PA, good morning.
Good morning.
From South Dakota here. Championship caliber teams or championship contenders can win in multiple different facets of the game. Mm-hmm. The Vikings won on defense and special teams yesterday. Several times they've won with offense this year and with some special teams and some defense. They've done it multiple different ways, multiple times. As frustrating as it was to watch the game and the offense and the turnovers, this to me was an encouraging win. Skol!
How about that?
I don't. I don't see it that way. I see it that way, but FIDA, fairness and defensive act. The defense has become the identity of the 2024 Minnesota Vikings, just like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. All right, now they had Trent Dilfer at quarterback. Hey, Dilfer, Darnold, whatever. It's
alliterative. They sound the same,
right? But I mean, like Sam has not been this outstanding, unbelievable quarterback either at Trent. And Trent, with an outstanding defense and special teams, found his way to the winner's circle after the Super Bowl.
Let's take calls for the next hour. Who's better, Dilfer or Darnold?
The skill position players for the Baltimore Ravens at that stage of the equation were not as talented as those with the Minnesota Vikings now. One of the Sharps was a tight end, Shannon Sharp probably. Now Sharp's better. I mean, we're talking HOF here. Right. So until somebody makes HOF here, I love what Oliver's doing and Hawkinson and Johnny Munt when TJ was down and stuff like that.
Was Jamal Lewis with him at the time?
Let
me find it here. Yeah,
maybe. Yes.
They had Jamal Lewis. They had Shannon Sharp.
Yep, Shannon Sharp. Jamal Lewis. Now that's a bell cow back. Now he's diminutive, but he's thick and he can take the hits.
Wow, Quadri Ismail.
Yep. Quadri, right. So I don't even know if he was their best receiver. But you can have, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the team that we just saw, Bercich and I brought it up a zillion times during the broadcast, and Kevin O'Connell referenced it in the pregame up to the game. We did it last week when I started getting the depth chart, game calling depth chart ready. The first, second, and third round, high third round picks these Jags had all over the place.
Yeah.
Great, cool. What's it getting you, man? You had a second round pick who's an offensive lineman from Alabama who you traded 7.5 years into the equation. And Walker Little, you may like Walker Little more, or you're looking to do some things and save some money and move on without somebody else. But the corners they have, I heard so many, Jerry and something. I heard so many things about him last week around the Vikings facility, the rookie from Florida State, 22. And he didn't stick out negatively, but he didn't do anything that really opened my eyes, unlike those Rams. All right. Where'd Verse play? Florida State?
Florida State.
Okay. Then the other one who was on the inside.
Braden Fisk.
Bro, you're going to see him tonight. Okay. The guy on the inside's unbelievable. They really, really hit on that guy.
And Kobe Turner's high end.
Yep. But he's not a rookie. So you look at the rookies or like Kobe Turner, who was taken, I think, in the second or third round. You look at Trayvon Walker, first overall pick in the draft. Trayvon Walker, man, I can't figure him out. He leaves games on red. And then all of a sudden he gets a sack at the end of the game because, Darnold hoists the white flag.
Yeah.
Josh Hines-Allen is one of the fastest, strongest defensive ends I've seen in quite some time. But how much did he really impact the game?
Right.
He did, but was he the identity of it? Well, he's a first round pick. So you can have all this skill and all this talent, but in the team game, man, if it doesn't mesh, then you ain't going to get anywhere.
Right.
You'll get to the playoffs, maybe win the division, something like that. And I don't want the Vikings to face something like that because Jefferson's super gifted. So is Addison. So is Hawkinson. So is Aaron Jones. Brian O'Neill's never played better. This is the best season, I swear, I think Brian O'Neill's had in his career. Ever since Reisner went active, Ed Ingram's blocking the run like he's a Mack truck. And Bradbury out on screens has been really good. So it's when you got somebody behind you pushing you, or you got something that gives you that metaphorical proverbial chip on your shoulder, these guys jump up. And I think that's happening to a certain stage or certain facets of Minnesota Vikings football.
And we can probably go back to it, the complimentary aspect of it. And I don't know if it's sustainable, but through 9 games, it has been. The Vikings defense has created 9 turnovers. So kind of the idea as you were going through it and we see those 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
And, this defense, it's tough to compare it to the 2000 Ravens defense per se. But
created 9 turnovers. What do you mean?
The team has created 20 turnovers through 9 games.
Through 9 games. Got you.
Yes. And so I do not know if that is sustainable. But the complementary aspect of what this defense been able to do, 30 sacks, you can look at all the pressures. Grenard leading, I think he might still be among the best in the NFL at physically altering and pressuring QBs in this league.
Right.
That from an identity standpoint, for Vikings fans, again, whether it's, extend Sam Darnold or what, we've played the expectations game 2 or 3 different times over the course of just 9 games of this season.
Yep.
With what we wanted to see into the season. Then JJ gets hurt. Now we know Sam, the man on the fan, is that guy and going to be that guy. He goes guns blazing out of the gates. Then we got some fallback to the pack. We have some mistakes being made and some turnovers. Hold on to that ball, Sam. And then now forcing it to Justin Jefferson.
Hold on. I just saw your tweet. You're telling me Jalen Holmes caught a stray?
Yeah, he did. I think the radio guys misidentified him.
Wow, in the biggest spot of the game.
And it was Jerzon Newton, the rookie out of Illinois.
Holy cow, that personifies catching a stray.
It does indeed. So,
damn.
I just think the expectations game of the quarterback combined with the fact that we have an offensive head coach, the offense, we need that or we want that. We believe in it with Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
That should be the identity of the team. And so you're sitting here at 7-2, and I just think we all play those mental games of, man, that was ugly as heck yesterday. Mm-hmm. But the defense came and got us. When we need it, they came and got us, they picked us up, and we all got to the, as you say, the finish line, the winner's circle, albeit ugliness. We did it on the foot, on the back of one Parker Romo, and you just got to be happy with that.
And see what the difference between like those in that battle and those sitting on the top of the hill and analyzing the battle and then coming down and shooting the wounded. The difference is they all have 24 hours to just be kids and be joyous and recognize how hard it is to get this thing done, how bad feet hurt and ankles and knees and hips and shoulders and elbows and sternums and the whole thing. But now today, well, this is where the rubber meets the road for that whole thing, because this is where, after they watch the game, well, that's where O'Connell's like, why? And then that's like where a player's to a coach. Well, like, okay, well, you tell me why. That's the collaboration that I talk about, is that they have a lot of that, a lot of byplay, a lot of dialogue that's really good between players and coaches. And the celebratory part is going to be gone at now or 3:00 today. And they're just going to start because, let's be honest. Let's just be straight here. O'Connell is super happy they're 7-2.
Right.
Turnovers in the red zone. That just cost that I bet you that cost that man sleep.
Yeah.
And all of the offensive coaches, because remember the tight ends coach, Brian Angelico, this is a red zone savant we're talking about.
Yes.
Who has crafted high-end red zone plays for years with O'Connell, Phillips, McCown, O'Hara, and the rest of the cats. And when you go 0-5 in the red zone, that's going to be, high fives for everybody. Yep, high fives for everybody. What time is it? Oh, cool. It's 3:17 Central.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about this route here. Let me tell you about this here. Let's fix this and stuff. So,
well, the way
fortunately, they come at it from 7-2.
The way that he handled it, I thought publicly yesterday was perfect. We're not going to Nick Mullins. So that's just that's from my standpoint is I feel like that's not going to be an answer.
No, that's not an answer.
And so when the kid goes out there and throws 3 picks, what are you going to do? You're going to pull him from that game? You can't pull him from that game.
Right.
That's preposterous. You have to, in one way or another, even as bad as it was, you have to keep that kid as confident and as empowered and as emboldened as you possibly can, because there's nothing coming through that door the rest of that season. So this is on Sam. He knows, and he mentioned it. He said, I got to protect the ball better. That part's obvious. He said that in the post game. I thought the head coach handled it really well. How he's handled it in terms of his lack of sleep and the way that he converses with members of that offense behind closed doors, I trust that he'll handle it nicely in advance of this Titans game this weekend.
This is 9 to noon.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. It is News du Nord, and it's brought to you by the Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. And thank you so much. I mean, you got the NFL Pick'em game. You're feeling the felt all year round. Canterbury Park. The Minnesota Timberwolves hosting the Miami Heat last night. Jimmy Butler, he was hurt. He didn't play. I still had Tyler Hero, though. Here's an awful sequence towards the end of the game.
Here we go. Timberwolves up 94-92. Duncan Robinson to a cutting Jovic right to the bucket. Layup is good and a foul. You have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me.
It was kind of an ugly night for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards did lead all Howlers in points with 22, but he was 8 of 24, 4 of 14 from deep. And that's really been the story with Ant thus far, is I don't want to necessarily say settling for triples all the time, but I believe he's on pace. I mean, we're talking like top 5 all time, whether it's in attempts or threes made thus to this point in the season.
Anthony Edwards?
Yeah, he's just been firing from all over.
I knew that, but I just haven't looked at his make percentage. Like, is he making them at 38% or higher? Or I mean, if there's a 2, if you're telling me that he's on pace to shoot an historical amount of threes.
Well, no, he's making them at nearly 46%.
Well, that's unbelievable.
No, keep shooting them. That's but when you go 4 of 14
yes.
and that's not working, you need things to go in your direction from a different standpoint.
Well,
Julius Randle won a 6 from deep. They just had a hard time stopping. Specifically, you had Tyler Hero, I mentioned. He led the Heat with 26. But then Jovic, you heard that play there. You can't foul him in that spot. You can't foul him in that spot. That was tough.
Well, think about this. I mean, fans and or the head coach, they've been complaining about something or begging for something for a couple of weeks. It's akin to the Minnesota Vikings running game. It's like everybody been, begging for the running game to offset the passing game, be a little closer to 50-50 than you run for 160 and you almost lose to a 2-win team.
Are you saying 23 minutes was too much for Naz Reid last night, that we got to consider maybe taking reps off the big man?
No,
okay.
What I'm saying is, what the Heat score, 98?
95, yeah.
Sounds like pretty good defense to me. Guys wanted good defense, didn't you? Well, you got it. But I mean,
if they only allow 95 points a game all season long, they're gonna win a lot of games. PA.
I wish I'd watched it. I was following the Diseased Gamecast on the flight back, and we're gonna get into it a little bit with P Fox coming up here around the corner. But the Heat is a very hard team to beat.
Correct.
Spoelstra,
though. Right.
Eric Spoelstra is one of the greatest head coaches in the history of the National Basketball Association.
Yep.
It takes him about 4 seconds to figure out what you're doing and manipulate it his way with players like Jovic, who few have heard of, and Terry Rozier, the former Charlotte player. I mean, they're getting decent run out of him. Bam Adebayo all of a sudden is blocking shots. So, I mean, Spo's going to get out of his team what he needs to win a grinder. This is not a team. This is not the Halliburton-led Pacers where the only way they can win is 137, 134. Now, Spo doesn't play that way. So if you get into a grinder with Spo and he knows you're focusing on your defense becoming better, well, then he's like, cool. I mean, hey, I can go Jeff Van Gundy on this thing and try to win like the Heat Knicks in the Eastern Conference Final, 82-79. We can do that if you want. And I'd prefer to do that without Jimmy. So the Heat is a difficult team to beat. The Wolves fly to Portland, I believe, today.
Yeah, they go back-to-back tomorrow and Wednesday against the Blazers, and then they're at Sabonis, and then they come back home. One question, and maybe this is something we can talk more with Parker Fox.
That Sacramento bit, I caught them the other night before leaving for Jacksonville. Sabonis, Fox, and DeMar DeRozan. When that is on hit legit,
yeah,
and they're going to need to win 128 to 124. Because none of them play defense. De'Aaron can steal it a little bit.
Sure.
Sabonis is a defensive liability. DeMar hasn't cared about defense since he played at USC. But when they get that thing going, it's like I watched the other night, and Khan's guy from last year, Kevin Huerter, I mean, like, he's part of the bit, and like, Huerter would jump in when somebody got hurt.
Do they still have Malik Monk there, too?
Yes.
Okay.
And he actually hasn't been as good as he was last year, but like I said, when this whole thing comes together, they got a nice little squad over there in Sacto.
Mike Conley shooting 30% thus far.
Yeah, the
tough night for him last night too.
And I hate, I'm being flippant and joking here because I love the career that is Mike Conley, but the demise of Mike Conley's career may not be greatly exaggerated. I mean, the assists can be there, the steals have been decent, but and there may be a wrist or there may be a hand or something like that. I think I heard him maybe say that with Barrero within the last couple of weeks. And again, FEMA, Fairness and Mike Conley Act. I love Mike Conley. He's a bastion of excellence. But the shooting percentage, man, and the missing of wide open shots, I've just never seen that in all of Mike Conley's career.
Yeah. Let's wrap up News to Nord, and then we'll get into a bunch more with this. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights, Mr. Callie McManus threw 3 TDs on PJ's team. Rutgers wins 26-19.
Wow.
The Minnesota Wild, I was with the civil servant last night. We were watching this. Boldy ties it up 1-1. Late stages, less than 5 minutes left in the third period, but then it was Kurashev for the Blackhawks that gets the overtime winner. So the Minnesota Wild, and we're going to do a Vox in the Box on Thursday, PA. We're in Montreal.
Coming up this Thursday.
The Canadiens, I believe, are in town. Looking forward to that.
Yep, it'll be Paulie on the perch, assuming it's at Tria. Look forward to that. That's News du Nord, courtesy of Canterbury Park and CanterburyPark.com. Main man Parker Fox from the Gophers basketball team joins us in studio around the corner, and you're listening to 9 to Noon.